And we're live. Welcome, everybody. I'm very excited. I think I start every single one of these webinars with I'm very excited. Can't help myself. Last time we had a conversation along these lines, it was really good fun, very eye-opening, and hugely subscribed to, because I think there are an awful lot of people out there who would like to know what alternatives there are to the corporate in-house HR role that they're doing at the moment. And so I thought it would be good to have a similar conversation. It's not going to be exactly the same. We've got different questions to ask people. And I've got people from different backgrounds this time. So it's not, last time we had quite a few HR consultants, but my panel today are people who are doing slightly different things in the HR or HR adjacent space. So I'm going to get you each to introduce yourself first before we kick off. So Aime, I'm going to go around clockwise. Aime, welcome. Thank you for joining. This is your first one of these, isn't it? So do you want to tell our audience who you are and what you do?
Hello, yes. My name's Aime Ayrehart. I have a solid public sector HR background, but I founded the HR and Workers Trade Union because I figured that actually there isn't someone looking out for HR. I also wrote a book about how I blew up my HR career whistleblowing and against a local authority chief exec. And look, you can see I've got all my logos ready. I was organised for once, Kirsty.
You have. I'm impressed.
I know. And Google have just sponsored me to the tune of $200,000 to... Oh, yeah, Kirsty said I could swear.
Oh, my God.
How did that happen?
I knew you were pitching. I didn't know you got it.
Only me. And so AI and Me, which is a...
Genius. Play on your name.
And AI working together to solve people problems, to make all of our lives easier, right? To get managers off our back and to make our lives easier. So, yeah, I think that counts as a slight transition from HR, doesn't it, Kirsty?
A little bit. And if anybody has not read Amy's book, I have. It's freaking hilarious and also incredibly shocking. Like when she talks about what she went through in previous roles, and she totally names and shames the people that were involved in this. It's the juiciest book.
It certainly is.
It is. I was reading it and I was like, oh, I can't believe she's gone there. And then there's that chapter, which we won't talk about on this webinar as well. But I would highly recommend. Aime, you please feel free. If there's an Amazon link to your book, stick it in the chat. I'm absolutely happy for you to do that. Katy, do you want to introduce yourself next?
Sure thing. I'm kind of hunting around thinking, what can I quickly stick up there to demonstrate? I have got nothing.
The plant behind you is quite nice.
Oh, thank you. So I'm Katy Walton. I'm the founder of Make Real Progress. I'm a development and coaching company, and I mostly work with corporate clients, developing their leaders to create high-performing teams. And I wear a different hat as well. So I also work with HR coaches and L&D to help them build their L&D skills. So pretty much anything around creating and building and delivering and facilitating brilliant courses, workshops, and programs.
Love it. James, welcome.
Hello. I'm the world's go-to HR marketing guy. The company mission is to help you get new clients, increase recurring revenue, and create a life you love. And that last bit is probably the most important thing to me. Been working with HR consultants for nearly 10 years. If I add up all of my boutique management consultancy experience, technically a content writer by trade, but I don't really like to. I should wear that label more, actually. I've been doing it since I'm 18. I should definitely wear that. And like ICP, like typically in the HR consulting world, while I do work with startups and startup HR consultancies, I typically work with consultancies that are about 300K to 1.5 mil in the UK and US.
Wonderful. And Sam, welcome back.
Thank you. So I'm Sam Eaton. I'm the founder of Mindability. We are now a team of 6 coaches, which I'm really proud of. And we're on a mission to help HR consultants and consultancies to build successful businesses on their terms. And that stems from my experience. I've taken my first consultancy from 650,000 to 4.3 million. I replicated that in the States from 9 million to 14 million. And we've helped over 175 consultants now from 0 clients to scale up. So, yeah, I'm a best-selling author of The Trouble with Pink Wheelbarrows, which is my one business failure.
Also with this
tale.
Yeah.
And we've got a podcast. I give talks around the world talking about what HRs can do, the businesses they can form. Because we fundamentally believe that without you lovely lot, the world of work won't change, and we need that change to happen. And our role is to amplify your voices on your terms and share all our experience, share all our mistakes, and be there for you every step of the way.
Absolutely. I love it. And Sam, also please stick a book link in the chat. And James and Katy, if you've got any links you want to stick in the chat, go for it. Even if it's your LinkedIn profile. Quite often people want to connect on LinkedIn, and then unless you've got a really unusual name, sometimes they can't find you. So LinkedIn links are handy as well. So let me crack on with the questions that I want to ask. And Aime, I'm going to come to you first on this. What was your I can't do this anymore moment that pushed you out of in-house HR?
Well, I think I just woke up one morning and thought, fuck it, I've had enough. I'll be honest. She said I could swear.
I did say she could swear.
Right. And in my book, I say fuck, fuckity fuck quite a lot. And it's like I need bigger than fuck because it's just not. Anyway. But I think it was just that moment where I decided I'm not an idiot. I'm not useless. I'm not misunderstanding. I am fed up of everybody blaming me for everything and telling me that, I don't understand, or I'm evil, or I'm bossy, or I'm strong-willed, but I'm a nice person fundamentally. And I just thought, I've had it. So that morning I sent an email. I put in a bullying and harassment allegation against the chief exec of a local authority, an equal pay claim, and whistleblowing, and sent it to the external auditors. So, boom. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that.
You didn't go out quietly, did you? No. With a flourish.
But part of it is I'm not a quiet person. Do you know what I mean? That is who I am. Everyone's also, can't you just be a little bit less bright, a little bit quieter, a little bit more? No. It's just simple. So I just went, right, you know what? I'm going to lean into this. If you idiots are scared of me, I'll run a trade union. And I sat with chief execs of banks, and they're like, we don't know how to control this woman. I'm like, I know. And that's power, isn't it? Because they go, you're not allowed to do that. And I'm like, says who? they go, well, who can I tell? Like your parents, the law, the police. It's like, no, I have no boss. I run the trade union myself.
I think you might be my hero.
Right, I'll stop now, but I think you get the point. I just decided one day, enough, right?
Yeah. And Katy, let me ask you the same question. When I know that you've always worked in L&D, but you haven't always had your own business. So what was the moment that pushed you out and made you start up on your own?
It was probably like a series of moments rather than one kind of big thing. And it was a lot quieter. When I'm listening to Aime talking, mine was a lot quieter and a lot more reflective. So it was during COVID. And I think for the previous 3 years, I've toyed with the idea because I'd seen lots of other people go out and set up by themselves, and I'd seen them become really quite successful. And I think there was always that little thing in my head about, could I do it? Am I brave enough? Would I be able to make it work? And then during COVID, we all had that opportunity to think a little bit about where our lives were going and, just wonder what was around the corner. And I suddenly realised I was 48 at the time, which was the exact age my dad had been when he died. And I thought, you know what? Life is too short. And unless I give it a go, I'm not going to know. And I was scared shitless. I don't mind telling you, I was scared half to death because I had loads of limiting beliefs about I'm not techie, I'm not capable, I won't have a team around me, I'll be by myself. And I thought, if I'm not going to challenge that now, I probably never will. So that was it. It was kind of quiet, calm, reflective time during COVID and thinking, if I don't do it now, I might regret it.
That's really, I never gave it 1 second's thought. I never thought, and it never entered my head that I would do anything other than in-house HR. And then I got let go from my job. And it was really, I think, this is a story for another day, but I think I was fast approaching my second burnout at that point. I didn't recognize it as that at the time. I can now look back and think, you were not in a good place. And they actually probably did you a favor, because I was starting to turn into a dribbling idiot, I think. But I just, at the point that I got let go, I didn't know what to do next. And I thought, I can't go back to that. I can't go back and do it again. And so initially I did, it wasn't really like me on my own. I did HR consultancy through a company called People Puzzles. So they go find the clients for you, which is, we'll come on to this, one of the hardest parts about being self-employed. They go do that for you. So I just had to go in and do the HR work. So I had a very kind of sort of, it was a different route into it. And it was only after doing that for a year that I thought, actually, maybe I could do this on my own. So mine was very different. How about you, James? What was it that prompted you to move out of corporate roles and set up on your own?
Yeah, through all of my in-house roles, I've always kind of supported a main entrepreneur. So I've always been around that presence, and I've always had that mentorship. And I think that's really, really important. But then I moved to a separate company, and the experience was absolutely terrible. The company was awful. The culture was terrible. I actually had PTSD for like a good year after working for the boss, because I was working so closely with him, and he was an absolute psycho. So after I think it was like a year, I was like, do you know what? I just need to leave. Had a mortgage, had everything else, but I was just so desperate to get out of the situation. I just did it. And similar to what Katy said, it's about just fear of not fulfilling my potential. That actually really drives me. That fear of laying on my deathbed. I know that sounds really morbid, but looking back and thinking, I could have done so much more. And I kind of forced myself to take action, starting a business and having my own autonomy and purpose and mastery, which were intrinsic motivations from Drive, were on my to-do list. So I thought, now's the time. I'm just going to do it. Brilliant.
Good on you. And Sam, let me ask you the question in a slightly different way, because you've been running your own business for a very long time. What are some of the reasons that you see most often come up with the HR consultants that you work with? Because I know you talk in your tagline about, you wanted to get out of corporate. What sort of themes do you see there from people?
I think I'm taking a bit of what everyone said, the kind of wrongdoing that Aime's faced, and thank God she's the fabulous human being she is today. I love true rebels who want to make a difference, and unapologetically so. And I will support people like Aime every step of the way, anti-establishment and everything else. Great. And exactly what Katy and James have said. It's been that there's got to be a better way. And I think most people get to that point where there's got to be a better way. Whether you are a parent who's fed up with your meal times being broken up, Kirsty, how you were treated in your roles and you hadn't seen it until, bad stuff happens. And your story always stays with me. Katy, the series of things, whatever it is, it's that there's got to be a better way. And then the fear of, how do I replace my corporate income? And actually, I wish it was as easy as it is today, back when I started building businesses, which I know makes me sound ancient. And possibly I am, although I deny it. But, the whole thing is, it's that there is a better way and there is more choice now. We've got automation now. We've got AI, we've got where that's moving toward, which is enabling people to be more human. And that connection piece is more important than ever before. And big organizations are wanting to use the expertise and the wealth of knowledge of the consultancy base. That always hasn't been the way pre-2020. They wanted peer-to-peer purchasing power. So they want a better way, and there is a better way. Is it hard work? Yes. Is it scary? Yes. Does everyone make it? No. That's the reality, right?
Yeah, 100%. James, let me ask you next. Did you take the leap in one go, or did you do it as a side hustle first?
No, I've been very fortunate that I've had a very strategic consultancy role up until about last year. So I pretty much had a very, very good full-time wage, whilst I was building up several businesses. So before focusing on the HR marketing guy and marketing for HR consultants and the HR marketing box, there are a number of iterations of businesses because I just wanted to get going. I didn't really know and I think this is a really good lesson to have for those people wanting to start their business. It's like how you start is not how you're going to end up, but at least your journey. And it's I always say to my friends and I say to my clients, it's like, as long as you move and as long as you go in a direction, what is meant for you will come to you. So yeah.
Oh, I love that. I side hustled. I took my final HR role that I took was 3 days a week. And that was deliberate, knowing that I was only going to do it for 18 months. And then we were going to move to Malta and I was going to go fully self-employed, which we did in 2023. So I had my 2 days a week and I was coaching then. So what you said about the first iteration of your business will not be your last. I was an executive coach and that's all I did. I coached HR professionals, which is funny because I don't actually coach at all now. But yeah, it's taken several turns along the way. But I did mostly from a financial perspective. And also, it was an awful lot easier applying for the digital nomad visa in Malta when I had employment and a pay slip every month so I could show what my income was. So I did it sort of in a stepped approach and sort of very carefully. How about you, Katie? Did you do it in one go or did you kind of side hustle in?
You know what? I was thinking about this. I kind of did dip down to 4 days a week. So when I was in my last in-house role, I decided that I wanted to start investigating, dabbling, doing all the stuff that isn't really going to get your business going, but it makes you feel like you're doing something productive, like creating the logos and the branding, all of the stuff.
Everyone starts with the blooming logo, don't they? That's the most important thing. Yeah.
And actually, it's the customers that are your most important thing, because otherwise you don't have a business. But somehow, so many of us get caught up in this trap of doing the fun, creative things first, thinking that you're going to start making progress. So I did dip down to 4 days a week. I didn't do a huge amount. I had 1 or 2 clients in that time, but mostly I was kind of doing all this stuff to keep me busy, pretending that I was setting up my business. And I think
that's really hit home with me.
Is it?
Yes.
Did you do the same?
Oh, I spent weeks in Canva.
Yeah, exactly that. And it was only once I'd said, right, I am definitely going to do it. And I gave my notice. I had a 3-month notice period. And it was then that I really started getting my head to the ground, thinking, if I'm going to make it happen, I need to hit the ground running. I didn't have any savings. I had nothing to fall back on. So unless I made it work, then I wasn't going to have a roof over my head. So it was kind of then that I started really getting to grips with what are my first pieces of work going to be. So I did what a lot of people do, which is start off with a lot of associate work. And so when I first had that notion 3 years beforehand that I might like to go self-employed at some point, one of the big game changers for me was setting up an in-person HR network, because I realized I didn't know anybody locally to me. Because I've been working, I'm based in Peterborough, I've been working down in Swindon, all of my network was down in the southwest. So I thought, if I'm going to make it happen, I need to create a network. So actually, I kind of did start sowing some seeds 3 years before, even though I didn't know that I was definitely going to do it. And that helped me so much, because it meant that when I actually then started to put the wheels in motion properly, it meant that I had a network of people who were willing to give me associate work right from day one. Meant, I think most importantly, I had a network of people who felt like a team, because I'd always had that fear of doing everything by myself. And yeah, having that team of people around and really supportive was just a game changer, made a massive difference.
Yeah. It's funny. I was thinking actually, as you were talking, I was like, I did actually create a Facebook group in lockdown. And I think that's where I met you initially, was through a Facebook group. And I was employed at the time, full-time employed, but it was I think it was called the something about the
Oh,
people.
the people.
Yeah, it was the people. Yeah, I'd forgotten all about that. And it had nearly 2,000 people in it, which was pretty cool. So I think that's how I said that. And then posting on LinkedIn was how I started to, just discover that I had a bit of a voice. And it just went from there. But forgotten all about that. Aime, how about you? Was it well, it sounds like it was a big bang approach, actually.
Well, sort of, because I was running the HR department, so me blowing everything up, they had no idea what to do with me, and they suspended me on full pay for 14 months whilst offering me a promotion, trying to make me redundant, trying to force me to shut up, which was, not so I wouldn't advise this strategy, right? But 14 months on full pay, where theoretically you're not allowed to make any money, but you're getting a half decent, it's local government, so it wasn't great. So what I did was I started playing, and I just started meeting people and playing with social media. And actually that gave me, I went and I just helped people. I said, I can't charge you, but I can. So in a different way, I started to build up networks and community, and also work out how to sell, how to understand what people wanted, how to be myself. I sat on Canva and did logos and things like that. So I still did that. And then, when I was actually dismissed, because I basically gave them no choice, I already had things ready to go. So then I could, right, okay, now that I'll take those clients on. And I still do some HR work, believe it or not, in the background, because some organizations like the idea of having a trade union rep to investigate or do their HR, because it gives them legitimacy with their staff. They know that I am not going to just do what they say, but they like how that plays with their staff. I've done some interesting investigations where that's what they want. They want to be able to say to their staff, well, we employed Aime. Do you really think that we weren't going to find the truth and she was going to not tell, So I have got more things in the background and I think almost everyone has. I don't know anyone who's just been able to transition. I love Sam's approach and her, because she's saying, talk to people, talk to your network, go and talk to everyone. I'd spent so long working and bringing up kids and all the rest of it. I'd lost all touch with everybody, not just a network, but family, friends. So that 14 months, I went to everything. I went to London. I went to every party, because suddenly I had actually the time. Does that kind of make sense?
Totally does. Yeah, absolutely. It's and Sam, I know Sam will always say, talk to your network, because Sam is like the Uber networker. I'm not brilliant at that, not in person. I can do it online, but I'm way too introverted in person, which Sam has seen with her own eyes. Sam, what are some of the things that surprise people the most about running their own business, either in a good or a bad way?
I think the good way is, and I often say it, so many HRs are used to being the ones that are in a room where they're not wanted, but they're needed to be. And now they're being paid to be in a room where people want them to be and they want their advice. And that's such a refreshing change for a lot of people right at the outset. I think that's the lovely bit about it.
Yeah.
I also think most people actually find their communities. What I'm seeing, and I see it every day, and I'm going to be quite flippant, we see communities sprout up every single day. And I think there's a real drive now for that human element. There's so much more collaboration that's going on. Find your tribe, whoever that may be. I think the thing that people find really hard is the concept of selling. And my reframe is always, you are not selling. You are, number one, having a peer-to-peer conversation to see if you get on with that company. And number two, you're exploring how you can best support them. Because if it's not now, it could be later. So that whole reframe, I think the thing people struggle with is selling is only one part of building a business. And no one tells you how to build a business, which is very different from just the selling aspect over here.
Yeah.
And that is very overwhelming for people. And it doesn't have to be. So much of it is systems driven and process driven. But it's lovely to see that moment of, oh, wow, you know, they really want my help. They're really listening. And I love seeing that. And once they get the first few sales, they're off. And then I love it. And I love the videos they make. It's awesome.
James, let me ask you the same question, because you work with a number of different HR consultants. What are some of the things that people find surprising when they first go out there and do HR consultancy?
Yeah, I'm not sure about surprising, but maybe like the biggest learning curve that they have to go through is the concept of time and how they actually sell their services. So I think people that are in corporate, and like when you're in an employed position, it's very much concepted around time, the time that you're in the office or 9 to 5, and the constraints of your earnings are very much time bound. And I think the thing that I would like to inspire everyone listening to this today is that actually you can scale your income above your time, and not just to think that you are your hourly rate or your day rate. And I think that's the biggest learning curve that I would like HR consultants to go through, because then they can go through financial stability through to financial scalability. And that's one of the biggest perks of being a business owner, the fact that you can scale your income above your time. However, HR is actually very difficult to package up as different forms of revenue. So there's 4 types of revenue. There's passive, subscription, time-based, and one-off. And the idea is to create a hybrid business model using all of those different pricing models. But HR is actually quite difficult because there's no set delivery. You know, like accountants, it's like, oh, you do a tax return and you do this.
I'll do your end of year reports and then I'm done. Yeah. Within HR, there are no set deliverables, because how long is a piece of string? So one of the things that I've been working with my clients on is how to break HR down. And we've created a new framework, a registered framework called the HR Service Pyramid, which basically breaks down the different levels of HR. And then they can understand how they can package up those different levels of HR in different ways to create different forms of income. But it's more about the value that's created, isn't it, rather than the time spent? I know, Sam, you talk a lot about selling value over time.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a mistake I made when I started out. I was like, I'm going to do a coaching session. It will be 60 minutes. What do I want my hourly rate to be? And it was a big mistake. I think I first put my coaching sessions out there for £59. I don't know what I was thinking. £59 for an hour of my time. I'm like, yeah, okay. And people still thought that was too expensive. But that's a whole other story. So, yeah, it is a tough one, because you've not always got, with HR, you've not always got like a tangible outcome that's immediately apparent. So it's, I guess, thinking about that a different way. I like the idea of the framework you've got there, though. That's cool.
Yeah.
My brain's gone blank. Katy. Katy, I'll ask you again from a personal perspective, both you and Aime. What has surprised you the most about running your own business, either in a good way or a bad way?
I think from a positive perspective, I'll keep going back to this team thing because it was such a big thing for me. I was absolutely blown away by the amount of support, willing, free support from other people who are freelancers. And I don't know whether it's specific to HR or whether it's the same in other industries as well. But I've been absolutely blown away. I mean, all of you guys, I know I've never met you before, James, but for the rest of you, I've met you, at different events and everything else. And I know that any one of you, I could just message, and I have done in the past, and ask for some support, and you willingly give it. And I've been blown away by the amount of people who are there supporting. And that whole collaboration over competition thing is just, it's been a total game changer. So I would absolutely echo what Sam says about finding your tribe, finding people who will support you, cheerlead, get on board with you. It's a game changer. I think the one thing that really surprised me was the cost of doing business. And I think the cost can really quickly escalate. I think I had it in my mind, right? Because bearing in mind, I'm learning and development professional. I think when I was in-house, I kind of thought, right, all I need is a flip chart, some pens, a laptop, and I'm good to go. Maybe a Microsoft subscription, and that's it. And I cannot believe how quickly everything can stack up. So one thing I would absolutely advocate is just keeping a really clear eye on your costs, because it doesn't matter what your overall revenue is if you're not turning over a decent profit, because you've let all of those little costs add up and add up and add up. You're going to be doing yourself a really big disservice. So yeah, think about the cost, be really pragmatic, understand what it is that you actually really need, and then just go for the nice to haves later on when you're a bit more financially stable. Because I'm sure many people out there will probably experience, at least when you're starting off, before you've got some of those systems and processes in place to get additional revenue elsewhere, you're probably going to experience a bit of a roller coaster. And it just makes it really hard those first few months to try and navigate, unless you've really got a good close eye on those costs.
It's all the tech subscriptions as much as everything, isn't it? I think like Canva, they're all little on their own. I think Canva is like $10.99 a month, and ChatGPT is like just under $20 a month. But by the time you add them all up, it's hundreds and hundreds of pounds every month on these things that you actually can't really not have. And then you've got like what you have to pay for setting up your business, and that annual ICO, isn't it? That you
Absolutely,
have to pay, and business insurance. And then I think one of the biggest struggles for me was getting my head around the fact that I didn't get to keep most of my revenue. Someone's going to pay me £1,000 for something. I actually get to keep about 400 of that by the time I factor in VAT, corporation tax, and any income tax that I might have to pay if I take it as salary. That was a massive learning curve for me. And I did get very excited. Like, you get a piece of work and I'd be like, yay, it's $5,000. And you'd be like, no, it's not. No, it's not. That was really hard for me.
And Kirsty, you've just raised a really good point there. And the one thing that I think a lot of new business owners across the board, whether you're consultants or coaches, they buy in these systems. We all do. We all love the shiny things. But then you start buying in support. And what people don't ask is, what systems are you using? Because not only are they potentially doubling or tripling support costs, but the person they brought in to do the support, for example, might also have, say, a sales navigator, and you've got it, and you're both using it the same way. So you can triple the cost. So think beyond that as well is often a common pitfall that we see. Sorry, I just wanted to add that there.
Oh no, that's a really good point. I've never even checked whether my VA, whether they have Canva. I pay for Canva, but she may have it. Oh dear. Yeah, I'm not the shining example of this. Do as I say, not as I do. How about you, Amy? What surprises have you had, or learning curves?
Well, I think coming from the HR in the public sector, and not really having any family that were in business, I was probably as far from business and small business as humanly possible. And what's interesting is, if I'd have known you were all going to be so lovely, and that actually the people in the public sector were being really nasty to me, I'd have jumped quicker, because my perception was, if we're all values led in the public sector, then externally it'll be nastier. And I'm like, I can't cope with nastier, seriously. And then I realized, oh no, it's not like that. It's really not. Everybody, just exactly what Katy said. So everybody is lovely and supportive, and and they get me, and I can be kind of weird and talk too much and comment on everything, because actually, if I put a long post on responding to your social media, it helps your algorithm. So most people will actually talk to me because they know what it's doing. So, but the thing that helped was, I am used to having no money, no budget, and having to deliver in ridiculous scenarios, right? And that has created a sort of, I don't know, a mechanism for, like, I've done massive government projects with bugger all money, right? So when I went into business and I'm like seeing everyone spend lots, I'm like, what? Huh? Like, so there's that, like, where now I still had to learn, because most of it was ignoring everything I was told. I'm like, I can do that without that. I can get that with it. No, why are you doing that? And now simple things like my Starling account is fabulous, because it comes in and then I proportion everything according to maths I've done. And I just do it the same way. So I get money in, and it's 20% to corporation tax, 30% to director's salary, and 50% to director salary and 30% to other stuff, which I then proportion monthly. And then when it comes into my personal account, I'm like 10% to personal taxes. And then I've got literally amounts I need each month, and it includes messing about money, fun money, ridiculous things that always seem to come up. Like, you'd love my stuff, but like, there's a system. Does that make sense? And
yeah, totally.
It kind of works because it gets over that bit of, right, I've done it, because I couldn't, there were too many variables. I'm like, okay, if I just do the maths like this, actually that tends to work. And then sometimes at the end of the year I have more money than I expected, because I put in 20% into corporation tax, not 19%. So it's weird and odd, but it's not what I expected. Basically, that's the takeaway. None of it was what I expected.
I'm going to state, you touched on systems there, and I love the sound of your banking and finance system. That sounds very, very, very you. Sam, what sort of systems and habits and tools do you recommend to help stop business descending into chaos, like mine often is?
I think first and foremost, there's a lot of influencers and people out there say buy this, do this, and it's very hard to know what to do, and frankly, who's being paid by whom to advertise the system. Keep it simple. At the very, very beginning, track all of your conversations. So if, say, I'm talking to Aime or I'm talking to Katy and I have a conversation today, I'm going to log that. I'll catch their URL. I'll have one column that says first contact in it if it's the first time, and the next one, which is where the gold is last contacted. Now, the reason why I gone into such detail on that, as you motor and you go out there and you start finding events, that sheet might turn from your contact sheet to then your pipeline. And that's a whole different conversation, as Kirsty, I know you and I have had, in terms of then building out the pipelines, what they look like. Mm-hmm. But in those early days, really keep it simple. Track everything. Keep hold of who you're talking to. Put all your deals as they're going to, again, in a sheet. Because over time, that'll go into some kind of CRM. Once you move from that step into the next step, which is a CRM, think about what you want. And again, do you want to be capturing email addresses? I would suggest you do. So you need a CRM that can do that, as well as then track your deals. So try and be 2 to 3 steps ahead. And if not, get someone who has been there. And I'm not saying, come work with me. Obviously, I'd love to. But, someone who's been there multiple times, more than once, so they can see the trends. Mm. They can see 3 to 4 steps ahead of you rather than 2 to 3 steps. So really think about those kind of things. Keep it simple to start with, then look at a CRM and how do you want that to scale with you if you're looking for a business. Do you want it to send your emails? Do you want it to track your deals? Do you want it to track your emails? And there's so many other things that, we're going to start talking a lot more about in the coming weeks, about the automation and the processes side of things, which is a separate conversation. But I think those 2 things is where I'd start.
Okay. Katy, how about you? What sort of systems and tools do you swear by?
Do you know what? I'm going to start off with one really quick thing. And I learned this from a director that I worked with previously. And I was always amazed. Every single meeting that we had, she would turn up. She would know exactly the last conversation that we'd had and the goals that we'd set and what we'd agreed. But she never seemed to have a diary with her. And so I just said, what is it that you do? And she said, it's really simple. So I use my Outlook calendar, and then I populate. So when we've got our next one-to-one, I just populate another time slot in there just before, for 10 minutes before, and I'll just put all the notes from this last conversation. So 10 minutes before the meeting, I've got a bit of preparation time. I'll read back through it. And do you know what? I had never thought of using my Outlook calendar for that. And to this day, that is the most effective tool for me whenever I'm having conversations, because I get lost with big CRMs and tracking spreadsheets. And I know that I don't do it often enough, but my Outlook calendar, that's my Bible. That's what I swear by. So I put all of my notes in there. So it's probably maybe a cat-handed way, or maybe it's one of those game changers for anybody that they can use. The other thing that I swear by is Asana. So I don't know if you use similar, but it's very similar in principle to Trello, that kind of thing. So it's project management. And it means that whenever I'm outsourcing to anybody, I can give them access. It's a free software. I find it super organizing. You can link into so many different platforms, but you can invite team members in. And it just means that we can look at a glance and we can see what projects are on track, where they are. You can use it in so many different ways. So I think that's, in terms of Asana, I think considering it's free as well, that's one thing that I would be totally lost without. So do check it out.
How about you, James, from a systems and tools perspective?
Yeah, I've actually done a lot of research into this for HR consultants. So last year I did a big research piece with a cohort of 20 consultants, and we polled my entire list. So I've actually created the ultimate software stack for HR consultants, which lists every single type of product and software type that HR consultants and consultancies need to run and grow their business. When you start talking about software stacks, it can very quickly go into overwhelm territory, and costs can soon mount up. And like Sam said, it's really important to keep it simple. Using my experience is in product development and software development as well. So like this type of thing is very familiar to me. So when I was thinking about, okay, well, what softwares do HR consultants need? What is useful to them? I kind of took a big step back and I was like, right, I need to do a research project. And I need to look at what people are using, how they're using them, and if there are any common trends of software stacks that go together. And what I did was create the ultimate software stack for HR consultants, which lists the different use cases. So the different reasons why you would need to use software to run and grow your consultancy, a list of over 150 software types that people are using. And then we've got about
it's a minefield.
Yeah, we've got about 6 trends of software stacks as well. And yeah, it's something that I can talk about very much in depth because of the amount of research that I've done. And this is all about kind of helping my consultants to create the best software stack to support their growth. So I have that as a free resource. Anyone listening to that, they're more than welcome to contact me and get that free resource. In terms of me, I'm going to echo what Katy said, and that's project management software. So I use Basecamp, and Basecamp has a flat fee of $99 a month. Again, I know that's a cost, but I literally run my entire life off it. My shopping list, Basecamp. My finances, Basecamp. I even deliver client work through Basecamp, and I have like my clients in projects, and if we have consultancy calls, we have like shared spaces. So for me, having that one space to just organize my entire brain has been the best thing to help me grow my business and to support other consultancies in growing theirs.
Brilliant. Aime, how about you?
Well, yeah. Okay, right. Well, I think the most important thing is always to try and find out what works for you, right? And most of that comes from, do you understand yourself? And, you know, so because I think there can be a great thing of like, well, because I'm sitting here thinking, oh no, because what I'm going to say is totally different to Sam, and I don't want to make her like, and then I'm like, no, slow down, she'll be fine. Because the truth is, what we do is if we're not sure, we go and look at other people's stuff and we go, and I think that's it. It's don't accept I've got to do what Sam tells me or what some Instagrammer tells me to do, no matter how good they are. But listen, go, okay, I'm interested, curiosity, what is it? Why does it work? Then think, does it make sense to me? How do I fit that into what I want and create? Like James is giving you the massive list of the stack. Absolutely. If you're the kind of person who wants that and wants someone to give them a stack, fabulous. Or if you're like me, I'll be like, yeah, no. Because actually, you know what I use? My own brain. Just instinct, right? I've got a law degree, a psychology degree, a master's in HR. I like all sorts of different things. I will forget what my kids are called and whether or not I've put the washing in, right? But, and I've no idea what size their feet are and what color their eyes are, but I will remember all sorts of stuff, you know. So I just say to myself, I have very simple things. So in WhatsApp, everything I do is in WhatsApp. And every person, if they're a client, they're in my favorites list, which just sorts them out from the dating, because that could go horribly wrong. Okay? You know, right? So like favorites list is just every client, right? Which is trade union, HR, doesn't matter what it is. If I define them as a client, that means the list of their conversations there. And all I do is look at that and go, what's the next thing I need to do? And usually it's just, how you doing? How did that go? And I'll go through every single client and update, because then I know where I'm at, you know, with all of them. And my brain will just remember the rest. And so as long as I say to myself, okay, stop, what have you got to do today? Like, ask myself questions, my brain will come up with what do I need to do. And actually my instincts are pretty good, because I don't like getting in trouble. I don't like missing things. So it will, and it's really annoying though, because I'd like to be like Sam. That's like my, like doing lots of things and it's not how my brain works, right? I can't do that. So, but actually what my brain will do is work out what's the most important thing. And if that is spend 3 days watching Star Trek, right? I've accepted that that's because I'm just enough. Do you know, does that make sense? My brain is going, So I'll go watch Star Trek for 3 days, and then I'll come back, and then in 4 hours, I've done 30 hours work. But I discovered what Sam it made me feel good when Sam said, sell the output, because I realized, especially with trade union clients, I can't tell them I've only spent 4 minutes reading everything they sent me, because that's how fast my brain works. They won't believe me. They'll either think I'm an arrogant idiot or I haven't paid attention. But then how do I charge them for 3 hours work, because they think that's how long it will take me, when it took me 4 minutes, or I dumped it in AI and summarized it, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, shit. So I came to the conclusion that, if I charge them for the outcome, then it doesn't matter where I spend my time, and I don't have to lie. Also, exactly. Also, they don't care. Also, it stops the whole, because sometimes I really like talking to people and listening to their stories, and they're like, well, I'll only spend 15 minutes with you because that's all they can afford. I'm like, no, just pay me this, and then the chatting bit is fun, right? So I don't have a problem. I'll spend whole days with people. Katie's like, sometimes Aime's a bit much, and other times I cheer her up, and she's like, I wish I'd talked to you before, because like you make me. And going back to I do attraction marketing. That was a game changer for me in terms of a system. Forget trying to just be who you are. You're wild, you're different. People remember who you are, and then those that are drawn to that will come to you, and then you can have a conversation. So because I can't do the whole tracking thing, because it doesn't make sense. And I have had 2 clients come in the last month where it all comes from me doing the Disrupt HR for 5 minutes in Glasgow, going and getting drunk afterwards in a bar with various people who'd had fun. And there was a particular business consultant who remembered me from 3 years ago and has just referred me to 2 different clients who've just, I can't track that, Sam. I'm sorry. If I track everyone I have a drunk conversation with, right? What?
That's fair.
Yeah, but I think what I'm trying to say is find what works for you. Listen to everybody and then filter it, because what works for like Sam's nodding. She's not upset with me, because she's like, don't necessarily do what Aime does, but listen and see what works for you. And you've found mechanisms where you go, look, if you're really not sure, try Sam's approach, because it's systematic and it's logical, and then you'll find the rest. Does that make sense?
And then find your way, because you fill my heart with joy, because there is no right way. There's only your way.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. My brain tends to work. It's probably more aligned to Aime's than it is to Sam's. I have tried Trello. I just don't stick at it. Whatever system it's an excellent procrastination tool of mine is to create a new spreadsheet that will be the spreadsheet to end all spreadsheets, or buy a new note planner how many planners I've got. Like, this is going to be the planner that changes everything. And then you find it 6 months later and you've written on the first 3 pages. You're like, oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, and I know that is an ADHD thing for me. And I know it's something that I, that I do battle with. But yes, I'm not great at being systematic or following process. I haven't actually yet found the system that works for me, but we'll get there one day.
But
Sorry,
you've delivered so much. All I would say is, because there's an element of surely I should. It's like it works for you. Look what you've delivered, right? Look what you've done.
Somebody sent me a note the other day.
Feel like a system because you're judging yourself against other people.
Yeah, that's absolutely what I'm doing. Yeah.
If carnage works for you, if creating a new spreadsheet whenever that's what you want and then destroying it, having 600, I'm only trying to do that classic, whatever works. And you are doing amazing things. So
somebody actually messaged me the other day and said, how on earth do you stay on top of all the different things that you're doing? And I just said, Ritalin.
Because you see, to Amy's point, that works.
I don't have a system. I have drugs.
Yeah, I hate systems, and I have to keep it in my prefrontal cortex and really work at it to keep them going, to build them. I'm not a natural systems person. I've learned to see what works, therefore what revenue I've left on the table, how we can improve that. Because, I'm not just building these things for me. I'm building them to say, okay, take that, break it, tell me off, shout at me, say how much you hate it, but please make it yours.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
All I want you to do. I don't want you to take what I've got and just use it because I'm telling you to. I want you to break it, make it yours, move in and make it just, it's yours.
Yeah. I've got time for one more question, I reckon. We've got about 5 minutes to go. So this is one of the ones that people always want the answers to. How do people find clients? Where do you get your clients from? Is it LinkedIn? Is it going out and meeting people face to face? Is it word of mouth, recommendations, that sort of thing? And I'm going to ask James first.
Yeah. Do you want to know about how I'm getting or how HR consultants should get their clients?
I think you can tell us either.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I definitely think multi-channel. But then you've got, again, try and keep it simple. It really depends on how big you want to be. Like the systems conversation is okay, cool. If you're happy to be an independent consultant, it's fine if you live in Carnage and you don't have systems because it's your world. But if you have employees and you need them to do things that you want them to do, and you need to measure their progress and you need to be accountable and you need to be reportable, then of course you need to have systems in place. Marketing is a business system like any other. And that's really what I try and say and educate my clients on. Marketing is a system. Yes, it has loads of variables. And if you get one of those little variables wrong, then the whole campaign could be a pot of crap. But it is a system. So I think the biggest piece of advice that I can offer to those consultants wanting to find new clients is to first actually think about who their clients are. And I know that we only have 5 minutes, so I'm trying to skip over the whole target market conversation because that could be an entire hour webinar in itself. But really think about who you're targeting and where are they most likely to be in the world of the internet. There's a really good book called Oversubscribed, and he talks about the corner of the internet. So it's okay, well, in-house HR consultants are a part of Evolve HR, and that's their community. That's their corner of the internet. So if you think about who you want to target, where they're likely to be, LinkedIn is obviously a really good channel to use. On LinkedIn, you can silo a full lead generation process. So you can connect with people, you can build relationships with them, and you can convert those relationships, which is really the premise of any funnel. So for those consultants just starting out, become an expert in LinkedIn and do those 3 things. As you grow and as you want to get new clients, then branch out into different marketing channels, like using your website and blogging, increasing your brand awareness, using email marketing as well. So yeah, I think think about who you actually want to target, where are they going to be, start off with LinkedIn, and as you want to grow and scale, then scale out your marketing channel outreach.
That's a lovely summary. Katy, how do you find most of your clients? Is it a mixture?
Yeah, well, I'm going to keep it a lot quicker. I would say relationships and conversations. That's
extremely quick. Relationships and conversations.
Yeah. So if you're starting out, think about all of the people that you've met over your entire career so far. Who could you just pick up the phone to, hop on a Zoom with, have a coffee with, get drunk with after a disrupt conversation? You know, just absolutely anything. Talk, have genuine conversations, build up.
Brilliant. Sam, I always joke about you being the Uber networker, but if you haven't seen Sam in action at a conference or event, it really is quite the thing to behold. I'm
going to be watching you next time, Sam.
It's unbelievable. So we went to, it's actually a year ago today. We were at day one of Work Human in Austin, Texas. Sam, Michelle, Kelly and I. And there was a competition that they had. So everybody had their lanyard with their name badge on it, and it had a QR code on it. And if you could go around, as you met people, you could scan their QR code and you got points. And there was a prize for the person who had the most QR codes scanned. Guess who came second on day 2 out of the thousands of people?
I came first.
Did you? Did you come first one day?
I came first, and then I had to do a client call, and I came in 5th. And side note, the winner has already got in touch with me, who was there last year. Game on has started.
You're going again, aren't you? In May, yes, you're going to the Denver one
because we've got the team going to Work Human.
And so the person that won it last year has actually been in touch with you to compete again. That's hilarious. But I mean, it was a great way of meeting people. Although what started to happen in reality, for those of us that aren't great at starting conversations, just like, hiya, can I scan your QR code, please? Thanks. And then just walk off, which is what I was doing.
But then I went down with Kirsty to change that, didn't we, Kirsty?
We did, yes. It was. I'm not good in those situations, but yeah. So I know, Sam, that I would imagine you get a lot of your clients, the people that you work with, through the multitude of face-to-face events that you go to, because you are so good face-to-face with people. But
I also think my inspiration comes from Joe Dispenza. I think he's a very humble and giving individual, and he really struck me when he said, "I could be a multi-millionaire, much wealthier than I am, but I have set out to see all my clients." And it still now chokes me. It literally chokes me up, because I think it's so easy to hide behind a square and want for a standard of living for ourselves. I fundamentally believe we are here to make a difference and an impact and make a difference in the world of work. And I want to help these consultants do what they want to do. So yes, the in-person is really, really important. The masterclass is what we do for so many of, we have 3 HR communities we support with love and gratitude. Some people might say it sounds woo. It works. And the other thing,
wrong with a bit of woo.
Yeah. And I always say to people, your network is a gold mine, exactly to what Katy said. You've got your clients in there. Go to these other events where your kind of clients hang out. I mean, I've sent my clients to rugby clubs, to pickleball tournaments, to golf tournaments, with the greatest will in the world. They're not necessarily all going to be at a BNI or a networking. Not all your clients are going to be on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. If you want to go after manufacturing, really, they're probably going to go to the Association of Manufacturing once a month because they want to know what the latest machinery is they're going to be using. Do you know what I mean? So walk the walk of who you want to work with and where they're going and hang out there. But your existing network is gold. And just as Aime has said, if you have had, big life things, bringing up family, or you've been in a corporate job, you'll be surprised at who's at the playground, who at your local gym. Never leave home without a business card, Kirsty. You know me and that kind of stuff. But
yeah,
it's
very true. Yep, don't even have business cards, but okay. But then I also live in the middle of nowhere in Spain, so I'm not going to bump into anyone in Carrefour. But yeah, how about you, Aime? What would you add to that in terms of finding clients?
I think I think it's what I said before, which is you have to find your own way. You know, there are multitudes of different ways, but I think you do have to connect. I've met some people who want to sit in their office, never talk to anyone, never put their head above the parapet, never go on social media, never take risks. It's like, okay, that's not going to work, because you just, you know, it connect. However that works for you, whatever makes sense to you, play a bit and be yourself, because like, if I am the poster girl for anything, it is you can be the extreme ridiculous version, and it works for people, because you know, right? Because it's I think we can be taught in HR and as women sometimes, I don't know whether, James, you would agree or disagree, but to be smaller, to be quieter, to fit in. But the problem is, if you're marketing and no one knows who you are, that's not helpful. I pitched at Google, and it was crazy, and I enjoyed it, and everybody remembered who I was and spent all day going, yeah, we heard you. But some people were like, well yeah, and my daughters were like, but it's embarrassing. No, if they don't remember who you are, then it's not going to work, is it? Right? So if you can, now they might not like you, but you know, it's like dating.
They won't forget about you.
2 billion people, right? I really haven't. So it's okay if I can only cope with a few hundred that come my way every month. You know, it's like, it's fine. And I'm being a bit silly, but it's so it is. I think it is about communicate. You know, connect with people. You do have to connect, and then find what works for you, and you work for them, because you will find your people. If you go to the school gates and that doesn't work for you, then you need to go somewhere else, right? But try. If social media works, great. Kirsty, you clearly like doing it where you've got some space and you can, you know, whereas in person doesn't work so much for you. It doesn't matter what works, just find, and you'll find people that will.
I'm going to try again. I'm going to the HR Big Meet in May, and I'm going to try and not hide in the quiet room all day this time, but talk to people.
Yeah. Well, people are fine, because people find me odd in that I am, what's it called, Katy, when you're in the middle, where you can be extremely extroverted.
Ambivert.
Yeah, and extremely, like, I'm just odd. So some days I'll be, and then it's all too much, and I'll disappear, and the people don't understand. But you just, you know, but I can't wait till that. Well, we all going to the HR Big Meet.
Yeah.
Sam's not. That's when Work Human is.
And we'll be in Work Human.
I'll be in Bali.
James will be in Bali, and also it's a women-only event. So
yeah.
Oh, well, okay. But I also realised, because I have not. I don't know you, James. I would love to. But the other three of you, I know, but I've not met any of you.
No, good point. Yeah.
And yet, I feel like I know you.
Yeah, totally. Right. We are out of time. Thank you so much. I think there's some really good advice and some really interesting information in there for people. So I very much appreciate your time for coming on today. And thank you to those of you who have listened or who are watching this on replay. I will get this uploaded to the app later on today, and I will share the link so that people can watch it when they want. So thank you very much.
Fabulous. Thank you. See you later.